All right, guys, Blade Show 2017 here with Craig from Tops. Craig, we're going to talk to you about 3 things I see in the comments when people see reviews of Tops knives. We're going to talk about the 90-degree spine, we're going to talk about the cost, we're going to talk about the fire steel. So let's start with the 90-degree spine, because a lot of guys who like survival bushcrafting are like, I want a knife, I can throw a spark without the fire steel. I can't do that. What's the story?
Okay, so why no 90-degree spine? On our 1095 high carbon steel knives, we use a differential heat treat. What that means is that the edge is hardened to 56 to 58 Rockwell, and the spine is not hardened. So it gets into the 40s, but that's not hard enough to stay sharp. So here's what would happen is if we put a 90-degree spine on the bob, for example.
Okay.
And so we do that on the 1095 bob, we put the 90-degree spine on it, we grind it, it's all sharp, everything's good to go. You start scraping a ferro rod, 5 minutes later, it's dull. It's rolled already because the steel's not hard enough to keep its edge. It's not that we couldn't, because we could heat treat our 1095 a different way. We like the way we do it because it makes a stronger overall knife. For the people out there who are abusing their knives and it fails, it's going to bend rather than break, which is safer for you, the user, than it would be if it just snapped. You know, when it snaps and you've got all your weight on it, you're going to go forward into a piece of the knife or whatever else is there instead of it just bending. So that's the main reason we do that heat treat. We've been doing it for years. It works, and that's why we do it.
And the knives are super durable, period.
Yeah.
That's the deal.
I mean, the fail rate on any of our fixed blades is less than 1%. In the vast majority of cases, it's less than 0.5%. So, you know, we're talking about 2 out of 1,000. It works.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we do it. The other thing with that is, like, how often do you need to use a ferro rod, and how often do you have something else that will get sparks out? You know, like, if I'm out in the woods and that's the only option that I have to start a fire, I'm just gonna use my blade edge.
Yeah.
It's gonna dull like that much of it, and it's really not gonna be a big deal. So that's why. I get that there's other things that you use the 90-degree spine for.
Sure.
You're scraping bark. There's other things you can do with bushcraft tasks, and I understand that. And we actually are putting a 90-degree spine on our Tanimboka Puko. By the way.
Interesting.
So just so you know, that we get that feedback enough that we're like, well, let's at least do it on one.
Yep.
So as we put out some new models, you'll probably see more that have a 90-degree spine. The heat treat on that's going to be a little bit different.
Sure.
It's still going to be a little bit softer in the center of that knife. The spine and the blade will be harder. The spine's not going to be 56, but it'll be hard enough to stay sharp for a ferro rod or some of those scraping tests. So that's kind of the thing. It's not necessarily that we couldn't or that we wouldn't. It's just that the way we do our heat treat is not really conducive to that.
So let's talk number 2. People say price. They're like, I'm going to spend $150 on your knife. Like, that just feels like a ton of money. What do you say?
Why so much? So the way we do our production, if you've ever seen, there's a couple of tours of our facility on YouTube. If you've ever seen one of those, you likely understand what goes into a knife. From start to finish, there are people involved. So after everything's cut through the CNC, pretty much everything from there on out is hand finished. We have a guy that heat treats the knives by hand, shapes the handles by hand, puts the finishes on by hand, sharpened by hand, assembled by hand. The sheaths are fit individually to the knife. I mean, there's a minimum of 10 people that handle every knife before it's finished. So we're not just
So
stamping
you
blades.
have to pay the bills?
Yeah, you know, I mean, we're not just stamping blades and then throwing them out there. There's a level of care that's involved with our knives that you don't get in a lot of other companies. It's all made in the USA. We do everything there in Idaho, which obviously is going to cost a little bit more in labor. The materials that we use, we don't skimp on. We buy American-made steel. We buy American-made products. So we're using products that are they're not cheap. That's just what it is. You know, and frankly, for the people that know and use our product, we just don't hear that, oh man, that's so expensive anymore. We hear, oh, that's a reasonable price. That's actually
and that
really
was
good.
an investment for them.
Yeah, you know, you can buy 10 cheap knives that'll last half as long as one really good knife.
Sure.
And for the people that want to buy the really cheap knife because that's good enough for them, great. Do that. I have no issue with that. If our knives are not in your price point, I apologize. You know, I wish we could make them lower. We do the best we can to have our prices be reasonable and affordable as much as possible. But we realize that we're not the $10 and $15 folding knives and things like that.
It's not your market.
That's not our market.
All right, question number 3 is about the fire steel. So you got these 2 magnesium rods and then the fire steel.
Yeah.
And people are like, why don't you just give me a fire steel? Why'd you do that? What are the thoughts behind it?
Okay, so again, usually if you're out in the woods, you're camping, even I mean, if you're practicing primitive skills, it's one thing. But if you're out in the woods just camping, just having a good weekend, this is not typically what you're going to use to start your fire.
True, yep.
You're going to use a lighter.
Yep.
Like a normal person. That's what I use
Like
when I go camping.
Like a normal person.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's cool. Like the hand drills and all the other fire
But
stuff.
if I wanted to make a fire to cook a hot dog, get a lighter.
Use a lighter.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use a lighter.
Okay.
But otherwise, those are great skills to have. Practice them, use them, do that. But what we do with our fire steel is this is for emergencies. The two lighter colored rods are magnesium. You shave some pieces of that into your tinder bundle. The magnesium, when it catches a spark, it burns really hot.
Yeah.
It burns really fast, which is why you still need tinder. But that heat helps start your tinder.
Yeah.
So then, once you get some shavings off of the magnesium rods, the dark rod is the ferro rod, and that's where you're actually going to get the sparks from to start the fire.
Yep.
You know, and like I say, this is emergency. You can see that it's pretty thin. You know, you're not going to get a million strikes out of this. You're going to get a couple hundred.
Yep.
So you're only going to use this a few times, which ideally would be the case that you're only in a situation where you have no other way to start a fire a couple of times.
Okay. So you guys are really building it and saying, we want this for a real serious situation. If you're just going to go out there and tool around in the woods, bring another fire steel, bring a lighter.
Take another fire steel. I know that a lot of Exotac fire starters will fit in the piggyback that we have on our sheets.
Yep.
So they'll fit in there. People will put some shot cord around. So it'll fit other sizes. The one that we sell is specifically for emergencies. You know, like that situation where you're going to die if you can't start a fire.
Well, there you go, guys. Those are, I mean, when I think about the comments I see on Tops Knives, on the videos that when I do reviews, it's usually about the price, it's about the spine, it's about the fire steel. So their answers, you can see these are not like random things. You're like, hey, who cares about a 90-degree spine? There's a thought process that went into it. So let's hear your comments, and what do you think? Are you saying like, no, I just want straight 90-degree spines? You're like, oh, now I understand why they do it, what the process is, and we'll get that discussion started in the comment section down below.
Yeah, I mean, if you want that 90-degree spine, great.
Yeah.
Great. We make the bob in 154 cm, which is not differentially heat treated. The stainless steels we can't, so you can sharpen that spine.
Sure.
We got that new one coming out, the Puko. It's gonna be awesome. That one does have a sharp spine, so we got options. It's just the majority are not that way.
Sure. All right, guys, we have another video from Tops. We're going to talk about not the El Chete, but a new cleaver. So either stay tuned for that or click the video at the end here where I got a link to that so you can see. Blade Show 2017. What's it called? What's the new cleaver called?
El Chapo.
El Chapo.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys.